You know this story. The greatest archer in the world, the third Pandava, the warrior who had trained his entire life for this moment. Standing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the most important war in Indian mythology about to begin, everything he had fought for about to be decided. Arjuna, the divine warrior, favored by the gods, son of Indra himself, the hero of the Mahabharata. You know it like this. Arjuna stands on his chariot with Krishna as his charioteer. He asks Krishna to drive him between the two armies so he can see who he is about to fight. He looks across and sees his teachers, his grandfather Bhishma, his cousins, his family, and something breaks in him. He puts down his bow. He tells Krishna he cannot fight. He does not want a kingdom won at the cost of the people he loves. And then Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters of the most profound philosophy ever spoken, and Arjuna picks up his bow, and the war begins. The story tells us Arjuna's refusal was weakness, his grief was attachment, his clarity was delusion, and Krishna's argument was the truth that corrected him. Now let me tell you what the Mahabharata's own text reveals when you read Arjuna's words carefully, not what Krishna said about them, what Arjuna actually said. He was not confused. He was the only person on that battlefield who understood what was about to happen. The tradition has read Arjuna's breakdown at the beginning of the Gita as Vishada, despondency, grief, a kind of moral cowardice dressed up as concern. The word Vishada carries connotations of weakness, of someone who cannot face what duty requires. But look at what Arjuna actually says, not in summary, in the text itself. He does not say he is afraid. He does not say he cannot fight. He says he does not want to fight, and then he gives reasons, specific, detailed, philosophically coherent reasons. He says, what victory can come from killing my own teachers? What pleasure can come from a kingdom built on the bodies of the people I love? The same desire for kingdom that drives this war will destroy everything the kingdom is meant to protect. He says, even if they would kill me, I would rather die unarmed than kill them. These are not the statements of a man who is confused or cowardly. These are the statements of a man who has done the moral calculation and arrived at a specific conclusion. The philosopher and scholar Barbara Stoller Miller, one of the foremost translators of the Gita, noted in her commentary that Arjuna's arguments in the first chapter are not dismissed by Krishna because they are wrong. They are addressed because they are right within the framework of ordinary human moral reasoning. The entire Gita exists because Arjuna's objection is coherent. You do not need 18 chapters of metaphysics to answer a foolish question. You need 18 chapters to answer a question that is genuinely difficult. Let us go into the text. The first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's grief. It is 47 verses long. Every single one of them is Arjuna speaking. He begins by asking Krishna to drive the chariot between the armies. He wants to see. This is not weakness, this is the act of someone who insists on knowing exactly what he is doing before he does it. What he sees, Bhishma, his grandfather, Drona, his teacher, his cousins, his uncles, his brothers-in-law, the people who taught him, raised him, loved him. His body responds before his mind does. His limbs fail, his bow slips, his mouth dries, his hair stands on end. The Gita records this with extraordinary precision, a man whose body is refusing what his duty is demanding. And then he speaks, and what he says is this: killing these men is not worth any kingdom. Killing teachers is a crime against Dharma itself. If the Kuru line is destroyed, the social order collapses, chaos follows, women are unprotected, families fall apart, the entire structure that Dharma exists to protect will be destroyed in the act of fighting for Dharma. This argument is not emotional. It is structural, it is consequentialist. It is the argument of someone who has thought through what the war actually means. And then he says the thing that the tradition finds most difficult to accommodate. He says, I see no good in killing my kinsman in battle. I desire neither victory nor kingdom nor pleasures. What use is kingdom to us? What use enjoyment of life, when those for whose sake we desire kingdom and enjoyment are standing before us in battle ready to give up their lives? This is not attachment, this is love. And love, Arjuna is saying, is the reason the thing being fought for is worth anything at all. Krishna's response to Arjuna's grief is the Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters, one of the most profound philosophical texts in human history. And the Gita is genuinely extraordinary. Its insights about consciousness, action, duty, and liberation have guided billions of people across thousands of years. This is not in dispute. But notice what Krishna does not do. He does not tell Arjuna his enemies are evil. He does not tell Arjuna the war is just. He does not tell Arjuna that what he is about to do is painless or that no one will suffer. He tells Arjuna that the self that he thinks will kill and will grieve at killing is not the real self, that the bodies on that battlefield are not the real people, that action performed without attachment to outcome is the highest path, that his duty as a warrior requires him to fight regardless of personal consequence. This is a profound argument. It may even be true at the deepest level of metaphysical reality. But notice what it requires Arjuna to give up in order to accept it. His love for his teachers, his grief at what war costs, his insistence on seeing the people across the field as people. The Gita asks Arjuna to transcend his humanity in order to perform his duty. And it asks this on the morning of the most consequential day of his life. The war lasted 18 days. Arjuna survived it. Here is what he lost. He lost Abhimanyu, his son, 16 years old, sent into the Chakravyuha formation that Arjuna had taught him how to enter but never had the chance to teach him how to exit. Abhimanyu went in alone. The Kaurava commanders surrounded him and killed him together, against the rules of war, while he was unarmed. Arjuna was on another part of the battlefield when it happened. He came back to camp and found out his son was dead. He swore to kill Jayadratha, the man who kept the breach in the formation open by sunset the next day, or enter fire himself. He killed Jayadratha. Krishna had to stop the sun to make it happen. But Abhimanyu was still dead. He also killed Karna, the greatest warrior he had ever faced, while Karna was unarmed, lifting his chariot wheel from mud, calling for the warrior's code to be observed, at Krishna's instruction. He killed him anyway. After the war, he presided over a kingdom he had never wanted. He watched Yudhishthira break under the weight of what winning had cost. He watched Draupadi grieve 5 sons. He watched the Pandavas walk toward death in the Himalayas. Everything Arjuna said would happen on the morning of the war happened. After the war, Arjuna asks Krishna to repeat the Gita. He has forgotten it, overwhelmed by what the battlefield demanded. He wants to hear it again. Krishna says he cannot repeat it. The words spoken in that moment, under those conditions, are gone. He can give the essence, but the Gita as it was spoken at Kurukshetra was unrepeatable. This exchange, recorded in the Mahabharata itself, is the text's most honest moment about what the Gita was. It was not a universal teaching given for all time. It was a specific intervention on a specific morning to move a specific person to do a specific thing. And the question the Mahabharata leaves open is this: was Arjuna's original refusal wrong? Or was it the most morally honest moment in the entire epic? And what does it mean that the greatest philosophical text in Indian tradition was spoken specifically to prevent a man from doing what his conscience told him was right? The story of Arjuna has been told for 5,000 years primarily as the story of someone who was corrected, who started in confusion and was brought to clarity, whose grief was a problem that required a divine solution. But the Mahabharata's text contains a different story running alongside that one, the story of a man who saw clearly, who understood the cost, who made a human choice in a situation that was demanding something beyond human, and who was told by someone who loved him, using the deepest truths available, that his clarity was the problem. There is a reason this resonates so deeply right now. We live in a world that regularly tells people that their moral hesitation is weakness, that their refusal to act when the action required is terrible is a failure of character rather than an expression of conscience, that the ability to detach from the human cost of what you are doing is a virtue rather than a warning sign. The Gita says, act without attachment to outcome. Arjuna says, the outcome is people I love. Both of these things are true, and the Mahabharata leaves them both in the text, unresolved, for 5,000 years of readers to sit with. He picked up his bow, he fought the war, everything he said would happen happened. And he put it down first, and he was right, and he picked it up anyway. Script by Grey Wall Stories. Every wall holds a story. Some walls were put down for a moment and picked back up again.